Hello and welcome to another episode of Andy's Chomping at the Bit, brought to you by Big Andy Media, the official sponsor of every Friday episode of Andy's Chomping at the Bit. So today's episode I'm going to do on patience, um, mainly because it's something that in today's world of instant gratification and partially from technology, we want shortcuts for everything. Myself included for a while in my life. But it doesn't always equate to better. So, um, I can name this across in a lot of areas. From my relationships early on, I had the timeline in my head instead of waiting it out. But I'm going to actually focus it on a more recent more recent area where it was critical in my life. I feel, um, at least relatively critical as far as where I'm at today and Big Andy Media. So before I had Big Andy Media, created Big Andy Media, I had created a business where I was doing jingles, and I was also consulting for broadcasting and podcasts. And I had a client, and I was starting to set up and work and um, help out with the podcast for them. But there's certain aspects that weren't lining up. Um, Long story short, ended up parting ways, uh, mainly because I didn't like the direction things were heading. I didn't like on multiple areas. So the actual podcast itself wasn't what I was originally led to believe it was going to be. So that was part of it. Um, that was the final bit of it. Um, then there was also the part of I was the nice thing about it is I could be creative. I had creative freedom to an extent, but like I said, there were strings attached to it, so it wasn't complete um, creative freedom like I have now. Um, and probably the biggest thing that long term would have been a negative is I wouldn't have creative ownership and rights of my content. I'd created a consulting agreement um, that had lined out everything as requested, um, and I had done a lot of work leading up to it. But in the end, the agreement was never signed by this client. Um, so anything I had created for that in that consulting uh, situation, it wouldn't have benefited in any way. And I'll make it perfectly clear to everyone that you're never going to make it rich off of a podcast or consulting for setting up something like that, um, unless one in a very small group of people actually do. And my interest in podcasting has nothing to do with fame and fortune. I'll make that clear as well. I enjoy doing this for my health because I get to share, um, and it's good as far as helping me cope and process things. But by no means is this a get rich quick idea. You'll never get rich quick on a podcast. Is at least to my best understanding, you're not going to. And so what I did miss out on from leaving would have been some shortcuts essentially, as far as I wouldn't have had to set up a new business. I wouldn't have felt need to. Um, I would have had a base to start out with, a much larger base, so it would have been quicker. But like I said, at what cost? I wasn't willing to. In the end, I wasn't willing to give up my values, um, and I like being able to build with the freedom that I have now. Um, there's a lot of learning curve on the business side, particularly, and that's okay. Things pieces are starting to fall into place. Things are starting to click as far as outside of the podcast, the other aspects of Big Andy Media, and it's happening and taking off at slow enough of a pace that I'm able to enjoy the process. I'm able to build on uh, on the process. I'm able to observe these changes as they're happening, learn from them, so I'm not swamped with everything. Um, and that's the whole point. I want to enjoy the journey. I don't need to be shooting steps ahead. I like to build it from the ground up. I enjoy this process. I enjoy learning. Um, will I always be doing every aspect of it? No. Um, but I love learning the basics right off the bat. This is a fun experience for me. It really is. Um, so it's slower, no doubt about it. It's not instant gratification, and that's okay. I'm enjoying this part of it. There's no boundaries with what I do now, and I can hold my values. Uh, I can hold my values and work with that instead of um, trying to shape it for a client. And I have a lot more control on my clients too, as far as who I work with, what I do. Um, like I said, the mistake I made last time was I'd created a consulting agreement, but I didn't actually wait until it was signed before I started working. And that's an amazing lesson. I'm not upset about it. As far as what happened in the past is what happened in the past. It was a great learning opportunity for me. Um, it was, I grew from that. So, and so if I could, create a time machine, which I can't, go back in time and change it, I don't see myself doing anything as far as changing it because, like I said, it was a learning opportunity for me. I learned a lot of valuable lessons in that, both business and personal. So the past is the past on that side, but patience has helped me get to where I am today. It's helped me find that balance in life, the stability as far as my health, all four phases of my health, my spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical health has been more balanced over the last few months than really I can ever recall it being. And even before then, though, say probably you know at least the year before that, it was also balanced and stable, just not quite as balanced or quite as stable as it is now. So I'm grateful as far as the bumps in the road. You know, so patience is it's not an easy one to go with. You know, I wish there was times in the past where I wished there was shortcuts. In fact, if the whole scenario had played out literally a year earlier, I probably would have been more than happy to jump on the shortcut. That would have been a drive for me. But this time around, it wasn't. That's why it was easier, not easy, but easier for me to walk away. Um, and one of the hardest things, I think that this ties in with fear as well. Um, but instant gratification has a big factor on why it's scary. Walking away from something that you know isn't what you want to do. Walking away from something that you feel may be going the wrong direction, maybe feel toxic, however you want to put it, whatever your situation is, um, where you know that change is the best route to take. Um, but it's hard to do because even a bad situation where you know that it's not right is more comfortable, surprisingly, than leaving that and going into an unknown change. So when I parted, as far as from that client, and I took some time, and for the first thing I did was I went to the quick stable option and started looking at IT. Unfortunately, that didn't pan to be my path. Um, so So then I created Big Andy Media, and it was terrifying because I had never started a business completely on my own without that. I mean, I had done earlier for the jingles, but this was a little bit significantly different. It was a much bigger scope. I didn't have the um, quite the same guidance in it. So it was literally, building from the ground on it. Um, and whenever you leave something that you've been with for a while, an area where you've been for a while, that unknown, trickles in your head. But I also had to remember that the worst things that have ever happened in my life um, were when I had that voice in my head saying, "Hey, you need to walk away." And what did I do? I didn't walk away. So that kept me in my active addiction for a long time. That ignoring the voice in my head saying it's time to walk. So I had to go into that unknown. And like I said, the big thing was learning to, you know, staying patient, staying positive, being persistent with everything. You know, really trusting the process was it's terrifying because when things don't go exactly how you want them and they don't go as fast as you want them, um, because we're used to everything being instantaneous. It's easy to get discouraged, but that's part of the journey. I feel, and so in this particular example for patients, as far as my career goes, with Big Andy Media, I have to be honest, I am a bit grateful that it's going at the pace it's going. It's not stopped, which is that was the biggest fear, was it would stop. I'd get stagnant as far as growth. Um, but it's not exploding all at once. It's not happening at a pace that's so fast that I can't absorb everything. I'm not getting overwhelmed, which is great because I don't want to sacrifice other aspects of my life, even for Big Andy Media. Being realistic. I'll put a lot into it. I put a ton into it, and I'm persistent with it. I'm not folding. I'm not running for plan B, C, and D in case it doesn't work out like I did with my singer songwriter career. I spent more time looking for the backup plan than I actually did focusing on the um, singer songwriter thing as a whole. So, that's trusting the process is it can be scary. I've had moments where I've been scared. There's been moments where I've had doubt, but I'm glad I didn't quit. I'm glad I didn't jump for a shortcut because there are a lot of shortcuts out there, and I've had a lot of the shortcuts dangled in front of me, and like I said, I started going at one, but it's in the best interest, I feel, not to jump at those shortcuts. If it's, I learned actually in treatment, and I've even spoken many times with my therapist about it. The When you have two paths, the easier path is rarely the right path. So when you have two options to take, two choices, and as far as crossroads, um, usually the option that is less comfortable, the option that is more challenging, is the route you want to take. It's the better option. So knowing it and applying it's not always the same. It's not always as easy. But I can tell you this: out of since July, I can only think of maybe two times since July where I've actually woke up on the wrong side of the bed, so to speak, as far as, attitude. And I was able to pull those in relatively quickly, a couple hours, which some people can do it quicker than that. But for me, it took a couple hours. But I can honestly say that I don't recall a point in my life where I was able to go several months without having a single day. Well, like I said, having only a couple days that whole stretch where where I, things were really right off the bat not okay. And I'm not saying a lot because we have bad days. Everyone has bad days. Um, the difference is now I don't feel I have as many bad days. I have bad moments within the day sometimes. The days themselves are not bad. I wake up in a good mood and I go to bed in a good mood. And that's it's new territory for me. But a lot of it is because other areas of my life, from Big Andy Media, the business side of things, to my health, to other aspects of my life, my family, friends, hobbies, um, those my recovery, uh, kind of goes under health. All of those things have been finding balance in my life, and with that balance, it's allowed me to have clarity. It's allowed me to have positive energy when I wake up and positive energy when I go to bed. So, but bringing it back to patience, it's not easy. Today's age, we want something. Look on your phone, you'll look it up. Whether it be Siri or Google, boom, you got your answer. And we get spoiled with it, but it can cause problems too. It's part of my problem with my addiction. I my drug addiction I was addicted to uppers. So my main one was cocaine. But the addiction part was I was feeling stressed, I was feeling sad, and boom, instantly I'm happy, energy. But there's great consequences for that instant gratification. Tremendously, tremendously big consequences for getting that instant rush, that instant happy. Um, and in the long term, it led to moments that were a lot worse than had I been patient, had I trusted the process, had I taken the more challenging path and actually, the more challenging immediate path, and actually took the time to figure out what was wrong, took the time to address the problems that I've been avoiding, and handle it. So it goes more than just career. It goes into the personal life, learning to grow, um, and being okay with something not happening right away. There's a lot of things that I am actively working on as far as my personal self right now, and I can tell you that knowing the problem and knowing how to fix the problem to grow doesn't instantly equate to being able to apply that knowledge. And some things are just repetitive in general. You have to do it over and over and over again, and then you got to keep doing it. So it's always a journey. But patience is a big one for it. Patience, positivity, persistence. Those are the three that essentially have got me to where I am today. And, still clean and sober, still have the right attitude, still got my health, still getting more and more of my family and friends back into my life. So that's what I've got for you today. That's Andy's chomping at the bit for today. Brought to you once again by Big Andy Media. So I also want to take the time to say that on Sunday I've got another requested live performance, virtual performance. It's the first and third Sunday of every month from 11 to 1. And our spotlight charity for October is Bluebird Cancer Retreats of West Michigan. And this will be the last requested live performance of the month. So I invite all of you to tune in and share the event with friends and family, so we can help Bluebird Cancer Retreats, whether it be just simply bringing the awareness to them or helping them financially, whatever way you can help. And their website also has an application area for volunteering. So there's a lot of positives we can achieve helping them this month. So I wish you to join that if you can. And also, if you'd like to spread the word on this podcast or spread the word on Big Andy Media, I'd also appreciate that. And if you haven't already, you can like and follow Big Andy Media on Facebook and on YouTube. I believe I have you guys too. And also, Andy's Chomping at the Bit, you can follow on Facebook and YouTube. So, and all of the stuff that you see here is also available on www.bigandymedia.com. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your Friday and have a great weekend. See you Sunday. Bye-bye.